tonight I have a quick and simple tip for you. It solves two problems for me, and it gives me a lot of joy too. First, the problems. A, what to do when I have just a small amount of yarn left over from a project, not enough for another project. Do I add it to the bag of yarn scraps that seems to exist only to get into a tangled mess when I actually try to use some of it? And B, how can I save a bit of that yarn for the express purpose of future mending of my carefully finished project without adding it to the bag of yarn scraps that seems to exist only to get into a tangled mess when I actually try to use some of it? Well, now for the joy. I take that yarn and I turn it into yarn birds. Each bird is knit with the project yarn or yarns, and it's stuffed with more of that yarn, plenty for future repairs if they're ever needed. But in the meantime, these birdies make me happy and they decorate my office. Thin yarns, like sock yarns, make tiny birds, like this set of quintuplets knit from Sea Change Fibers Montara sock. Self-striping sock yarns, like this laying cable sock yarn, make delightful little birds of many colors. I think these turned out to be goldfinches. Thicker yarns, like Brooklyn tweed and Bew worsted that I used in this Jared Flood design, of course make bigger birds. Note that you can do some color blocking if you used multiple colors in your project. I get an inordinately big kick out of this, to be honest. I've even made yarn birds for projects I've given away, like this cowl in classic sanguine griffin bugga. I figure my friend is going to ask me for help if it ever needs repair, and I'll have the yarn right on hand. Or right on wing? The project I use as the basis for my birds is the Bluebird of Happiness pattern by Sarah Elizabeth Kellner. It's available free on Ravelry. I love it because it requires only about an hour to knit. It requires virtually no finishing or embellishing. And after knitting it a few times, I pretty much have it memorized. Sometimes I add an extra round by accident, but that just adds some fun variation to the results. I think you could use this technique of knitting fun little things to serve as repair yarn reservoirs with many other patterns. I did a quick search on Ravelry and came up with several candidates. A heart like this one seems like a perfect fit. Fast, simple, and could be done in more than one color if need be. For crocheters, too, I found several. A cute little star would be fun, and I also found some eggs that would work up very fast and easy. The key is something that is fast to create, easy to remember how to make it so you don't have to look up a pattern, stuffable so you can store several yards of yarn for those future repairs, and something that's fun for you to have around until you need to maybe slaughter that little bird for repair. So far I haven't had to do that. Someday soon, I do plan to get all of my little yarn birds strung up into a garland so they can hang around in my office and watch me make even more yarn birds. My yarn scrap bag has never been so empty, and that makes me almost as happy as finishing another little bird. I hope you'll give this a try and enjoy knitting some yarn birds of your own.